Hello and welcome to your Fantasy Premier League one-stop shop. I'm your host Stephen Gallagher, world number 3 in points totals over the past 3 seasons. Today we're going to be looking at all the key points for Game Week 9, who to buy, who to sell, fixtures to target, captaincy and more. Let's get straight into it, starting with some injury news. Starting with Arsenal, after the game against Bournemouth, Arteta said that Calafiori is a worry. He's actually sprained his MCL, so he'll be out for a matter of weeks, not months. So bad news for Arsenal, but not as bad as initially expected. Arteta also said that Saka is unlikely to feature against Liverpool this weekend, but he's been known to lie in press conferences about player availability, so I take anything he says with a pinch of salt, or a handful if you prefer. Sam C Reports is a widely trusted source for football news, and he's been told that Saka is expected to be available for the Liverpool game and has trained. And Charles Watts, another trusted Arsenal outlet, says that Arsenal are hopeful in Saka, but it will be a last-minute decision. In Man City news, Kevin De Bruyne is still not fully fit, but he is back in training. And Kyle Walker is still not ready after a knee issue. Jack Grealish is out for a week or two, and Doku is out for a bit longer. For Brighton, Danny Welbeck is a doubt for Game Week 9, but nothing conclusive on his availability. And finally for Spurs, Son and Jed Spence didn't train with the first team midweek. Son was a bit sore after the weekend, and he wasn't in the squad in the midweek European game against AZ Alkmaar. So nothing conclusive on him yet, but I assume he's just getting a rest and could be fit for this weekend, but nothing concrete. Next key point is Haaland triple captain against Southampton at home this game week. Some would say this is the best fixture in the whole season. Southampton, they've been the worst defense, conceded 18 goals in 8 games so far. So there definitely is good reason to use the triple captain chip here. And another good reason is that based off the scheduling this season, there will probably be only 2 double game weeks all season. And we have 4 chips that we usually use in the double game weeks. That's triple captain, bench boost, free hit, and this mystery chip that we don't know anything about. Another good reason to triple captain Haaland this week is that he played 80 minutes against Sparta Praha in the Champions League midweek and he scored 2 goals. So these are all the reasons why you should triple captain Haaland here. Now on to the reasons why I won't be triple captaining him. And firstly, his Premier League form has been poor the past 3 game weeks, 3 blanks in a row. Second reason is that he played 80 minutes midweek. So I do expect him to start against Southampton, but he might get subbed off early if they've won the game. The third reason is that Kevin De Bruyne is still out, and Haaland is significantly worse without KDB in the side to create chances for him. I also think that triple captain is one of the best chips to use in a double game week, because if you get it right, then you're absolutely swimming in the points. I tend to use free hits on blank game weeks, and that leaves the bench boost and the mystery chip to use on a double game week, and then one on a single game week or a blank game week. Alternatively, there's still possibility we get more than 2 doubles, in which case you'll be happy you saved the triple captain for a double game week. So these are the reasons why I won't be triple captain in Haaland this week. But like I said already, Southampton at home is not a bad shout at all. So if you have a gut feeling about it and you want to go for it, then trust your gut and know that it's still a great option to use the triple captainship this week. Next key point is Bukayo Saka. A lot of people wondering what to do with him this week. He wasn't in the Game Week 8 Premier League squad or the midweek Champions League squad. Arteta has come out and said he's unlikely to play against Liverpool, but he's not to be trusted. Someone we can trust is Sam C, like I already said, a football news reporter who is widely trusted as a reliable source. He's come out and said that Saka has trained and will be available against Liverpool. So Saka is definitely not a must sell this game week. However, Arsenal's next 4 fixtures aren't the best, which could mean selling Saka is the best choice for your team. And I think that's the key here, is that it's very team dependent. If you have other fires in your team to put out, some higher priority sells that you need gone from your team, then holding Saka is fine. But if not, then I believe there are players that outscore Saka over the next few weeks. And if you have the transfers to get rid and then get Saka back, whether it's with another free transfer or if you're wildcarding in game week 12, then I would consider selling him this week. Who to replace him with? I think Son, Foden, Salah, Palmer, they're the best premium replacements for him right now. Next up is defenses to target using the fixture difficulty ratings from FPL Optimized. These are the defensive fixture ratings, ranking the easiest upcoming fixtures for defenders over the next 6 game weeks. Brentford ranking top here, but if you take a look at their defensive data so far this season, they rank 4th worst for expected goals conceded. Yes, they play Ipswich and Leicester at home in the next 6 game weeks, but I'm not fully convinced by their defence just yet. Wolves in second place here, another poor defence. They've conceded more goals than any team so far this season, and they rank 5th worst for expected goals conceded. They're currently bottom of the table, having lost 7 out of 8 games and drew 1 game. That being said, they've played some really tough opposition in Man City, Liverpool, Aston Villa, Newcastle, Chelsea and Arsenal. So maybe we'll see some better performances from them in this much easier fixture run. And this man Aitnery is getting into some really good attacking positions and putting up great underlying data. So he's 100% worth a shout just for his attacking potential alone. And if the Wolves defence can pull out a few clean sheets in this run, then you'll be laughing. Everton ranking 3rd here, and they've also been poor defensively, but with Branthwaite expected back soon, that will help them massively. But until then, I'm not holding out hope for the Everton defence. Same goes for Leicester, they've struggled defensively, understandable as a newly promoted team. Fulham, they've improved massively this season, and a lot of that comes down to their defence. They've been really solid at the back, and this man loves to get forward and whip in those crosses. His underlying data hasn't actually been fantastic so far, but for his price, with his data, Fulham's defensive data and these upcoming fixtures, he's a great pick. Now, Man United have great upcoming fixtures, especially from game week 11 to 13 with Leicester at home, Ipswich away, then Everton at home. I think Diogo Dalot is the one to go for from the United defence. He's a 90-minute man, guaranteed, and he's Man United's most attacking defender. With these upcoming fixtures, I'd expect him to pick up a few points. Next up is attacks to target, looking at the best fixtures from an attacking perspective over the next 6 game weeks. Wolves ranking 1st here. They don't have the best underlying data in terms of goal threat. They rank 3rd last for expected goals per 90 so far this season. But as I mentioned before, they've played against some very tough opposition. If you want to take a punt and go for a Wolves attacker, then I'd look at one of these 2 lads. Cunha would be my preference based off historical data and this season's data too. But if budget is an issue, then Strand Larsen could be a great cheap enabler for this nice fixture run. In second place is Brentford, and with Wissa back from injury much sooner than initially expected, it's an exciting time to own a Brentford attacker with this fixture run, and Wissa being back only makes them a stronger attack, which is actually good news for Mbumo owners too. I think the Brentford double up on these 2 players could be very strong, and at 5.9 million, which is a great option for this fixture run. Next up is Everton, and if you're going to own an Everton player, then the next 6 fixtures is the time to do so, because from game week 15, the next 4 fixtures are Liverpool, Arsenal, Chelsea and Man City. But these next 6 fixtures are great, and Dwight McNeil continues to impress for Everton. He's got 3 goals, 3 assists so far. It's worth noting that he is overperforming his expected goal involvement significantly. So whether he can continue this form, we'll have to wait and see, but he's an exciting player to own for this fixture run for sure. Another exciting player, and one that I've loved watching this season, is Ndaya. He looks brilliant on the ball, definitely passing the eye test, and he's been getting good minutes and showed his attacking threat with a nicely taken goal against Ipswich. I think he's one to keep an eye on going forward. Then there's Calvert-Lewin. He's been a frustrating player to own for the past few game weeks. He's been getting in good goal scoring positions and had a few one-on-ones with goalies, but can't seem to find the back of the net. My advice would be that if you own him and have other fires to put out, then he's most definitely a hold. But if you have a free transfer to spare and like the look of another forward option I've mentioned or will mention, then I'd make the move. Next up is Leicester, and shout out to Buonanotte, man, making me look so good. I talked about him in my video last week, and then he scored against Southampton to start their comeback. That's 5 goal involvement in 7 games for a 5 million midfielder, which is just exceptional value. If you like the sound of that and want to take a punt on him, then this fixture run is the time to do so. Crystal Palace have a really nice run of games coming up, and this man Eze has dropped down to 6.7 million. I know he's been poor this season, only 1 goal so far, and Crystal Palace are really struggling at the moment. Only 4 goals scored this season, the least of any team. But with these fixtures and at this price, I'd fancy a punt on Eze. He is the main man for them, and if Glasner can get Palace to click again, then Eze will be back in the points in no time. Fulham have good upcoming fixtures and some really nice budget options in Raul Jimenez and Adama Traore. In fact, Adama ranks 7th for expected goal involvement per 90 in the league this season. If you want a cheap enabler in your midfield, then you'd be doing well to get a better option than him for this fixture run. Man City have some nice upcoming fixtures. Haaland is the obvious pick from their attack. I know he's blanked the past 3 game weeks in a row, but the chances of him blanking 4 game weeks in a row are very low, especially when he plays Southampton at home this game week. Foden is an interesting one. I think we all expected him to start against Wolves last week. He didn't start, but he did come on as a sub and got an assist from his corner on the John Stones goal. I think if he starts, then Foden is a great option for these next few games. He's not really found his form in the league yet. He's been playing well in the Champions League, but FPL is all about getting players in before they hit their form, and I expect him to get into form over these next few game weeks. Lastly, I want to mention Spurs. They've got the highest expected goals in the league so far. The goals have been fairly evenly spread among the attackers, which makes it interesting trying to pick the right one. In my opinion, there's no wrong answer between these 4 players. Solanke hasn't quite hit his stride yet, but his data looks good, and that price for a Spurs forward is very appealing. Between the midfielders, there's Johnson, Maddison and Son, all very involved in the attack. Brennan Johnson actually has the best underlying data and is the cheapest, so that's 2 points in his favour. But Son is on penalties and Maddison is on set pieces, which helps a lot with bonus points. So like I said, there's no wrong answer picking between these lads. I'd suggest trying to get one into your team, at least one, for this fixture run. Next up, I'm going to do a run through of all the best performing players in every position statistically. For defenders, we're looking at expected goals conceded against non-penalty expected goal involvement. We're looking for players in the top right because they not only play for teams that concede the least chances, but are also creating a lot of chances themselves. You can see Trent, Robertson and Porro, the 3 standout options according to these stats. Aït-Nouri ranking 2nd for expected goal involvement, but in a relatively poor defence based off Wolves' expected goals conceded. Then Milenkovic from Forest popping up here as well. They've been excellent defensively and he's been getting involved in the attack. We're going to keep an eye on this chart as the season progresses and we get more data, because at the moment with only a few games played, it can be skewed slightly. Let's move on to the midfielders. We're looking at price against non-penalty expected goal involvement. Cole Palmer well and above the rest of the premium midfield options, with Salah, Saka and Son in a cluster just below. In the mid-priced options, Luis Diaz, Brennan Johnson, Maddison and Mbeumo all standing out. And then in the budget options, Semenyo, Adama and Rogers the top picks there. Onto the forwards, Haaland's 3 consecutive blanks have given Nicholas Jackson the chance to catch up. With Haaland so far on the right of this plot, the rest of the forwards are a bit bunched up, so I removed them from the analysis to get a better perspective on the other options. You can see Nicholas Jackson ahead of the bunch, and then Havertz, Watkins, Solanke and Welbeck there. Welbeck has had a massive resurgence this season. He's been playing well, bagging goals and has the data to back it up too. He did go off injured in the 80th minute against Newcastle, but he posted on Twitter that he should be back in training soon, and if I owned him, I'd be worried about him not playing. He plays Wolves at home this weekend, then Liverpool away and Man City at home, so not the best fixtures in game weeks 10 and 11 anyways. So for me, he is a sell, but from game week 12, his fixtures are really nice, and I'd imagine a lot of managers wildcard in game week 12 will be looking at getting him in, including myself. On to captaincy, and this week it's fairly simple. Famous last words, because I said the same thing last week for Haaland against Wolves and he did absolutely nothing. But he plays Southampton at the Etihad, the worst defence in the league on expected goals conceded this season. Haaland will not be denied. Second, I have Foden, the Man City 1-2. I just think that there will be a lot of goals for Man City here, and when I think of who will be creating and finishing these goals, besides Haaland, I think of Phil Foden. I know he's not shown it yet in the Premier League this season, but we know what he's capable of. He's my number 2 choice for captaincy. In third place, I have Cole Palmer against Newcastle at home. I think this fixture will suit him a lot. I expect him to be really involved and to attack that Newcastle defence over and over. Newcastle have historically been a solid defence under Eddie Howe, but this season they've been struggling with injuries and haven't looked solid, so I expect Cole Palmer to be at the forefront of that Chelsea attack against Newcastle. In fourth place, I have Mbeumo against Ipswich at home, attacking the fixture here. Ipswich have been poor defensively and Mbeumo has been great for Brentford, leading the line for them. And with Wissa back, that only makes Brentford attack more potent, and I don't think it actually diminishes Mbeumo's attacking threat at all. I'd expect him to grab a few points in this fixture. And finally, I have Son against Crystal Palace away. I could have picked Maddison or Johnson here, but I think with Son on penalties, that just sways it in his direction. It's no secret that Palace have been struggling this season. I know it's an away fixture for Spurs, but they'll attack against any team, and I'd expect Son to be involved in a lot of those attacks. On to my Game Week 8 review. An absolute stinker of a game week, 37 points, a game week rank of 4.7 million. My first red arrow of the season, so I'm down to 578k overall. Only 3 of my players returned. That was Rodgers, Watkins and Wood. Haaland blank. Saka didn't appear, although I would have gotten rid of him for Foden if I knew that Saka wasn't going to play, and Foden only got 4 points, so not a big deal at all. I did expect more from Porro against West Ham, but I've come to accept that clean sheets are very hard to come by this season. Jota was an annoying one because he was looking very lively against Chelsea, and then Adebayo fell on him, injuring his rib cage, so he got subbed off after 30 minutes and probably won't play this weekend. So lots to do. Let's check out my plans for game week 9. As you can see, I've got Saka and Jota, both injury concerns going into this game week. 2 big players for me. I've got a lot of money invested in them, so it'd be a shame for neither of them to play. These transfers will all depend on any news we get regarding these 2 players. As you can see, I've got 1.5 mil in the bank and 2 free transfers. I've discussed previously that my plan is to wildcard in game week 12, so any transfer I make now is just for the next 3 game weeks. And the 2 teams I want to target for the next 3 are Man City and Spurs. For Man City, I really want Foden. From Spurs, I like the look of Son, Johnson and Maddison. If Saka is out, I'll go for either Foden or Son. If Jota is out, I'll go for either Johnson or Maddison. And if both are out, I'll go for Foden plus 1 of Johnson or Maddison. Or I'll double up on Spurs and go for Son plus Johnson or Maddison. At the moment, I do prefer the Foden plus Spurs attacker combination, as I think Foden is the more explosive asset, arguably one of the most explosive assets in the whole game. And if I get him now, I think his price will only continue to go up. On the other hand, we don't know how much Foden will play. We all thought he would start against Wolves and then he didn't. I don't want to invest over 9 million in a player that isn't guaranteed to start every week, in which case I'd just go for the Spurs double up. I'm yet to decide completely, so keep an eye on my Twitter at FPL_Gallagher to see what I end up doing. That's all for today, folks. Go ahead and drop a like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Until next time, have a good one.